I'm now going to continue my video series on 1950s music with a hit song from the year 1950. The title of this song is Goodnight Irene, which was performed by the quartet known as the Weavers. So how do I know that this was a hit song? Well, there's a bunch of hyperlinks you're going to find in the description below. The very first one will show you how I know this was a hit song. Just go ahead and click it and you'll see for yourself. So why was this song a hit song back then? Okay, well, since more people listened to records and to the radio than to television back at that time, they heard a lot of big bands and orchestra music. So, and if you listen to the song a little more carefully, you will hear a country influence. There's a country music influence on this song as well. So that made it quite popular back then. After all, if you're talking about the Midwest, a lot of the people in the Midwest were farmers at that time. I mean, let's face it, we had people that were still around that had been around since the Dust Bowl type thing. Okay, so a lot of these people, especially the Midwest, where they had a lot of money back then, well, they were a lot of them were farmers. So hearing something like this would have been the top of their hit parade back at that time. Even in 1950 it would have. It's true. So what is the message of the song? Well, all you have to do is look at the lyrics and you can see this for yourself. That's the second hyperlink down below. Now you say, well, I've looked at the lyrics, I actually want to hear the song. Well, that's the third hyperlink down below. Okay? So the first one tells you how we know it was a popular song. The second one will show you the lyrics of the song, and the third one will actually show you a link where you can actually listen to the song for yourself. Alright, so what was the actual message of the song? Well, this is a message that could resonate even to this day. Think about this for a second. The guy that this song is written about, he ended up getting into a very bad marriage and wishes he hadn't. Now the thing is that the Weavers knocked off a few verses of the song, and you'll see this in the lyrics. You'll see when some of these lyrics have been knocked off because they were controversial back at that time. You can sing that today and nobody would even notice, but back then you just didn't do that kind of stuff. Remember, a majority of the population back at that time was influenced by churches. There were a lot of Christians back then. Not as many as there are not as many today as there were back then, but there were still a lot of Christians back then. And there were just some things you didn't talk about, especially in the Midwest. And if there's anybody that knows that, it's yours truly, because I live in the Midwest. I know there are some things you don't talk about here that you would talk about in other places. I promise you that. So some of the lyrics were kind of disturbing, and the Weavers decided that if they were going to make it into a hit song, they were going to have to eliminate some of those lyrics, or otherwise it would never play on the radio. And you have to keep in mind that there weren't that many record labels back then. So if you wanted your stuff, if you wanted your songs to get on the radio and to actually be pressed into records where people were actually going to be able to listen to it, you had to keep the songs pretty clean. And as you'll see from those lyrics, it wasn't one of the cleanest songs in the world. So they cleaned it up, and they sanitized it basically and got it on the air. And they had a #1 hit because of it. See what I mean? So that's why that particular song was particularly popular with the public. Now, if you guys want to leave any commentary about this particular song, you are more than welcome to do so in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from you. I will tell you more in a future video, so I want you to stay tuned.